while my wives.
Okay, let me get my life together because this will be hard for me because I got to string my notes. Where did I want to put my food, Lord? I forgot that.
You know, I've noticed last week was the first time that what I see on my screen, like everybody's placement, it was exactly the same on our live.
Oh yeah, that's always funny to me because I'm
the first time it happened that I saw anyway.
All right, we are live. Playing the music, y'all.
Oh!
That's the type of show we having.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bang! Oh Jesus. We have a background noise? What's going on?
Yeah, I muted it. It was you.
Turn my phone on silent before we get the ringing.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your girl Dizzy with another episode of What You Got to Say. Of course, I got my crazy co-host in the building. What's up, Mr. Tyrone Greggory?
Y'all already know what it is. Gang, gang, let's get it.
All right, what's up, Miss Kela Mahogany?
Oh.
What's up, Miss Cool Candice?
What's up, y'all? It is time to officially chop it up.
And last but not least, while he hitting all his buttons and making sure everything is sent out and posted and looking fly. What's up, Mr. Cabana Blaq?
Hey guys, I'm that dude, and a shout out to Los Car Creations for this beautiful painting that he did for my home as I'm redecorating. My babies are in the back, my plant.
Hi, babies.
Yeah, I got 5 girls.
Special guest.
Looking for a boy.
She said special guest. Special guest. All right, so today we are talking about the Netflix drama American Skin. So if you have not seen this yet, I hope most of you have, so you can talk about this. But American Skin
Hashtag spoiler alert if you haven't watched it. Just
yeah, we gonna talk about it. So if you ain't watched it, don't want spoiler alerts, then you can hit us up and watch us later. So this is an American drama film written and directed by Nate Parker. It was premiered at the Venice Film Festival in September of 2019, and it won the, I want to say, Sconfini Section Prize for Best Film. So if you, just real simple synopsis of what the movie is about. It is about a U.S. Marine War veteran who works as a janitor at a high school. Him and his son got pulled over by cops. His son got killed by the cops, and a young college filmmaker decided he wanted to cover his story a year later, which then turned into basically storming the police station and putting the cop on trial again. And that's basically what the entire movie is about. Putting him back on trial for the murder of his son. And so I believe, very deep movie, very deep and real story that went on in that in this movie. So I am going to start off with just overall asking the yes or no. Did you like this movie? So, Tyrone Greggory, did you like the movie?
I loved the movie, to be honest. I mean, it was very thought-provoking. It left me speechless, but at the same time, it left me with a lot of conversation to have with my wife back and forth about, you know, just having our children, what we're teaching our young men and women at the same time. Because, I mean, listen, hate don't discriminate, male, female, but hey, it come at you. So it's just, you know, teaching them and understanding like, yo, this is really America. Like, it goes down like this for real. So I love the movie.
Okay. Miss Cool Candice, did you like this movie?
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. My husband and I sat down and watched it, and I do plan to have our boys sit down and watch it with us, and you know, have the remote in hand to pause and play so that they can ask any questions that they may have, you know, throughout the movie, because there is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, and there are things that our young Black males need to be aware of, especially in, you know, different environments for where they're growing up, whether they're in a, you know, suburban type neighborhood, around predominantly people who look like them or who don't look like them. Either way, that conversation needs to be had. And I'm glad that this movie was made. It was definitely put together very well. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay. Ms. Kela Mahogany, did you like this movie?
Yes, I think it was put together very well. It was good.
All right. And Mr. Cabana Blaq, did you like this movie?
Well, my answer is in between, because with movies like this, it's not about liking. It's just like 12 Years a Slave. It's just like On Beale Street. Movies that are real to me, that have more of a real connotation, is more like, I can't say I like it because I feel like it's my experience.
Okay.
It's more like me watching my family. So it's not entertainment anymore. So I don't even see it as a movie more than a truth being told. So
Okay.
I look at those movies different than someone saying, did I like Avatar? I'd be like, oh yeah, I love Avatar. You know, with this movie, it was another movie where I was like, dang, you know, it just made me think and process. So it's not about liking and loving for me. It's more about the education. And
Okay.
that's it.
Okay. So me, myself, I did like the movie. I feel that there were some things that were extremely accurate. I do feel that there were some things that could have maybe been presented differently, but overall, I loved the movie. I did love the movie. I support this movie and would actually refer it to any and everybody. So, who would like to start first to dig in on what they felt about this movie? Who would like to start? Because then, you know, we start round robin, and after that, so who would like to start?
Start out. Who is Rich Loganwood?
Yeah, I was.
What's victimhood?
Okay, so Rich Loganwood, I see you are still pushing that victimhood propaganda. Okay, Richie, you got to do more than make a statement like that. So please explain why you feel that way and what is the victimhood propaganda. Mm-hmm. All right, so hey Brandon, hey Lance, hey, oh that's Brandon said something twice. Hey Brandon, hey Lance, hey what's up y'all? Definitely need to watch it, definitely. All right.
I'll say this, because that's a good point of exactly why I don't say like or love, because when real movies of our people come to the screen, then the narrative of discussion changes. Mm-hmm. So when you were saying, do you like something? Because I can easily say, I love this film, but because it's more real life, like Richie just made his statement without any context, details, it starts negative, very dangerous, emotional dialogue. So Richie, what you need to do, if you're going to come into any group that is going to allow you to speak with not only just a statement, but something with your statement that we can have a conversation with, because your statement is ignorant. What we're not going to do on What You Got to Say is be disrespectful on what you got to say.
Right.
So
come with more than that, bruh. I need some more depth of exactly what you're talking about. That's what I need to know from you, is what is it that you feel is a victimhood? What is victimhood propaganda? What does that mean? And what makes you think that we're pushing it? Thank you very much. Please add.
I think statement is, I don't know if you watched the movie or not, but that was one of the discussions that they had when they were sitting in the precinct, when they had all the jurors that were sitting there, and the Latino cop was quick to say, you know, basically y'all are causing yourselves to be in this type of situation, which is what he's saying, which is the victimhood. You fail to bring into context all the different things that have led us to this point.
Right.
Right. We can always say, because of slavery. Well, let's unpack that thing, because literally that's what you can say. Because one thing after another has happened, which has brought us to this point, which is why we have so many Black and brown people that are actually locked up instead of actually within society with jobs, trying to gain better education, trying to better themselves and their families. If you have police officers that are targeting them and are, you know, profiling them and looking for them to be doing something wrong, then essentially you're going to get people who are innocent. You're going to target people who have done nothing wrong, but don't have a leg to stand on because they don't have the funds to back themselves up and to hire the lawyer that can go out that can get them off. Or they have the family that has the leverage in the city that can be like, okay, let me call Judge so-and-so because he knows that I done seen his daughter do a few strange things for some pieces of change and I can make him back off. Black people, a lot of Black people don't have that type of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Influence.
Yeah.
Network.
They don't have all
resources. Right.
So it's harder for us to get to a certain point without having to jump extra hoops and work twice as hard, 3 times as hard, 4 times as hard as, you know, maybe our white counterparts who can show up and just kind of get the job.
Okay, so he has responded.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and respond back to him and then get back on subject matter because I refuse to give light and go off of our subject matter to entertain this because that's not what this is about. But so what he is saying is that, well, from what I know about life, especially in life growing up in predominantly Black neighborhoods, there is a culture of acceptance of violence, drugs, and aggression, all things that can and should influence how police officers approach us. Murder and violence is not only present in our neighborhoods, it is suggested and expected of you from your peers. Okay, so anyone want to respond? Kela? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Richie, my friend. Okay, so to say that is also to say, like, to ignore how those people got into that situation. You can't have just like woken up today. You couldn't have got up this morning and been like, oh, I just got here because I chose to be here. No, things were already moving along before you came into this world. Okay, and so same thing with those people. So whatever is going on in that neighborhood that they were born into, they didn't choose to be there. They were born into that. That is already what was going on. So imagine, you know, if you would have watched, I don't know if you watched, but One Night in Miami also will show you that throughout history, our leaders who have been trying to change what's going on in the Black communities have been murdered, okay, by the state. So how does a neighborhood grow past, you know, that infancy stage where you're just trying to fight for resources, because that's what those people are doing, is fighting for resources. They are not just like, yeah, I like to be violent, so, you know what I'm saying, I'm just going to walk down the street and smack a bitch up. That's not what they're doing. They're fighting for resources.
Right.
And so if those people would have been allowed to actually grow because their leaders are not being killed, but they're there to help guide them into a better place, then maybe things would be different today. And so that is why movies like this are important. So you just thinking that everybody who is in that situation just wants to be in that situation and is not just a consequence of their situation.
Well said.
I'm gonna need you to have a little bit more empathy for a human being and their circumstances, and know that if you could not, yes, there is personal accountability. Okay, however, do not ignore what is already going on before you even got here.
Right. I agree with that. I just want to piggyback off of what Kela said. So he said personal. Okay, so I want to unpack what he said because I agree to an extent.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff that he says, but I also understand what Kela is. I agree with what Kela is saying as well. Yes, I understand, Richie, that There is a cult. This culture is there. But Kela just explained to you why that culture is there. It's not like we created this culture. Okay. Yes, you have personal accountability to get out of it, but we're talking in relation to this particular movie and this particular situation. So yes, they may not have come from the best neighborhood, but this father took personal responsibility to put his child in a better schooling system, a better situation. There was no murder, violence, aggression, there was no violence, aggression, anything that occurred on that traffic stop that made it okay for the cops to shoot that boy. Now, on the flip, yes, I'm aware that when they stop us, any of us that are not white, there is a heightened sense of fear and etc. I know that. I'm not saying it's right that they do that. It's just saying I know that's a fact that happens because of what is portrayed about our families and our culture on television, through music, and so on and so forth. That is an understandable assumption about my culture. It's understandable. It ain't right. It's understandable. I got why you feel that maybe all Black women might only be either like Beyonce or Wendy Williams, if that's all you're exposed to. Every man is not Tupac or Biggie, but if that's what you exposed to, that's all you know them to be. So what I want to know, and you can participate in this and so on if you'd like to, Richie, but my thing is, I need to know in this particular movie, even if you saw it, because if you didn't see it, you can have several seats and then come back after you watch it, get a sense of context before speaking. Where in this particular movie, American Skin, that we are discussing, does it constitute the son being killed by the cops? That's all I need you to respond to first. Then we can go on. But if you ain't seen the movie, you can just go ahead and backspace whatever comment you're about to enter. Okay, so
that threw me, because he's like, your friends or your peers expected of you. I'm like, what kind of friends you got, bro?
Right. I don't have those friends that expect me. Look, I don't have those types of friends. Look, hold on. I got friends that can expect me to turn up in certain situations, but at the end of the day, it's my choice to turn up or not.
Right. Like,
so I don't want to hear that. So
let's stop breathing life.
Yeah. All right. So back to the movie. First, let's talk about the traffic stop. Let's talk about the traffic stop.
Oh.
What say you about the traffic stop?
Wow, so much.
You already know how I feel about the police and what they do, and you know what I mean, how they operate. And this movie definitely just buttons up everything that I've ever said when it comes down to it, once we get to the end of the movie. It just showed me how those two cops, they were not looking at them as people, but already had put a label on them. They were already suspects. Mm-hmm. And this was because of insurance. And so that is what bothered me. It's like, can you give him a chance to figure all of this out? You know what I'm saying? And then he's telling you that his son is 14. It was like there was just a block, you know? And so that they didn't want to hear anything else. They had already made up their mind. And so when I was looking at that, I was just like, oh, this is going to be just bad.
And that to me is like even deeper, because most cops, as you further look into the movie and they start, showing signs and stuff, they're set up not to care. They're already dehumanizing our community. They're already making us feel uncomfortable. Think about it. The cops are supposed to, quote, in a world of perfection, be our protection. But even when they come around, when we see the red and whites and we see them, we're more uncomfortable because we feel like we almost, if we could take an eraser, erase our color off our skin. Right. Because we feel like, okay, I know I'm already going to be looked at. And God knows if I'm dark skinned. God knows if my hair's nappy. God knows if my eyes are not colored. Like, those are little itty bitty details that a white cop, when they look at a Black person, don't let them have any mixed situation going on. Then it changes the game up. I just felt like that was the way that it started was the most realist way it could start, because I think for me, anyone that is Black can relate to it and understand that kind of racism.
Okay.
Yeah. As soon as he got pulled over, he had to explain every motion he was doing. He number one told his son, "Hey, keep your hands up on that dashboard." And then he's like, the cop asked for insurance. He's like, "Okay, I'm reaching into my glove box for my insurance. Is that okay?" Like, why do you have to go through that motion like that when you can just say, "Here it is"? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then on top of that, once he gave it to him, he's like, "Well, this is expired." He's like, the insurance works. Like, he didn't even give him a chance to even, we're in a day and age where he could have went on his phone and said, "Look, here's the
Right.
update copy." He didn't even give him a chance to do any of that. And it's sad because that is what happens now in this society we live in. And it's crazy because I shouldn't have to explain every motion. How are you scared of me and you're the one with the gun and the privilege to shoot me?
Right.
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 The right.
Right. And that's hard because that it makes you feel like you're still 3/5 of a person. It makes you feel like you're still less than human because you can't see me as a person. You're looking at just my skin color. You're afraid of me because my blackness is apparently too bold and too loud in the room or too loud in the car that you feel threatened by me. Look, we're driving. When the movie starts, they're driving. They were going past the intersection. And they stopped him. Do you know what speed he was going? No. Were you clocking him? No. Well, what crime did they commit? What did they do that was wrong? Especially if there were speed bumps on either sides of it. You can't go too fast in between there. You're going to fuck up your front end. I'm just saying. So anyone who's logical in this is like, okay, I got on my black mama hat. Okay. I got my hands out. Me personally, I'm going to already have out my license and my insurance card on my phone or whatever the paper is. I'm going to already have it out just because I don't want you thinking I'm reaching for anything.
Right.
So by the time, because it takes them a minute to come to the car, they don't show up immediately. So in that extra time while you're waiting for them to show up, here's everything, officer. Here you go.
Which can also be a threat because they can see you.
Part one and my license in the other, so you can see I'm legit. Okay, the insurance card was expired, and he said, "Hey, my insurance is valid," which I'm glad in some states they have some
electronic
caption. I don't know, but like far as Texas is concerned, we have our registration in our front windows. So they can literally scan that and see, all right, your insurance is valid, your tags are valid, you're good to go. I'm
Right.
glad that they have that now, because in some states they don't. So I do have to still show you my insurance card that's valid,
Right.
which extra time, which causes tensions to be heightened because you afraid of me because you think maybe I'm going to reach and grab something and I got tucked under the seat, or I'm afraid because you sitting here trigger happy with your hand on your hip ready to unholster. So
Right.
what type of situation does that put us in? Which part of the law are we allowed to follow and exercise? Am I allowed to record any interaction with an officer as long as it's not impeding any investigation?
Right.
Dude, I should be able to hold up my phone. You can see it's a phone. No parts of this looks like a gun. I don't understand how the two of these look the same. And so the guy yelling at the kid, "Put it down, put it out." His father was yelling at you. He's 14. That's one. Two, he's holding a phone. It's not a gun. It's a phone.
I think that though they made it a point, and that's another thing. This is so real life. They made it a point to be dramatic because it is dramatic. Regardless if the insurance was good and everything was well, cops go in with intention. They just don't go in like, if he does everything accordingly. We have seen it time and time again. Cops, they deliberately, regardless if you're doing right or wrong, figure out a way in their own mind. And that yelling that cops do, it's a practice to yell like something is wrong, even though it's blatantly in your face. I've seen so many videos where they say, put it down, and there's nothing there so that they can have something to go ahead and say, like I said, put it down. I thought it was a gun. I thought it was a knife. I thought it was a weapon. And the other thing that I really thought was important about the beginning to me is this. Why in the hell do we have to do all of this? Like, it is utterly ridiculous. We have named almost 16 things that a Black person has to do when they see a cop.
Right.
That is unheard of. And just like Sherry said, yes, it's very uncool. I still don't understand how people are scared of skin, something we have no control of. Then when the officers are not held accountable, feels like another blow. Exactly. It's like almost we're continuously being shown. And like Kela said to Richie, yeah, we're born in a neighborhood and when we get on our feet, but if you keep putting quicksand in our neighborhood, how the hell are we supposed to get out of it?
Right, right. And I acknowledge the fact that what Richie said. So Richie has come to the forefront and said he has not watched this movie, but he's going to go and watch it and would like to come back and discuss it after he's watched it. I said, gotcha. You inbox me when you're ready to watch it and talk about this. He did make a mention earlier that basically saying successful educated Blacks make up the minority of our entire race, unfortunately. So you guys, as well as me, are the vast minority of our people, and the majority of us are speckled through ghettos across America. Ooh, I think that's that's a huge assumption, but I'll let you have that. But here's the problem. When one of our own feels that way about us, how the hell do you expect other cultures not to feel the same? You are going off perpetuated stereotypes. You're going off the stereotypes. And I'm gonna insert what Albert Brunson said, because and it's funny because Albert Brunson's here in the States, and one of our people in France is listening, and both of their comments are so damn similar, it's ridiculous. So Albert says, our culture is being portrayed in a negative light most of the time on TV and the internet. People overseas fear and expect us to act like that. Myself, being in the military, have traveled across the world and have seen these things firsthand. I'm either a rapper, an athlete, or a gangster when you go overseas. So we're not just going to talk about here inside our country. We're going to talk about how we're also portrayed when we are not in the United States of America. And Frank made an amazing point with Europe. So he said, hey, family. This is Frank Olivier from our French brothers.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
He says, bonjour. Hi, family. Unfortunately, I can't say anything about this movie because it's not available in France, even in Amazon Prime. Movies talking about racial issues and violence are often censored because they fear the anger of the minorities in France. I am curious to see this movie and see the reaction. So movies like almost every movie that we have that is a staple, I will say, in the African American community that brings up stuff like this. And I know I spoke with Frank before that he said, if you're watching a movie and there's more than 2 or 3 Black actors in that movie, it's probably not going to be released in France.
Wow.
It has to be like equal. It has to be equal, because if not, you're causing you're bringing attention to shit that they want to slip up under the rug. You know what I'm saying? They want to see my thing is, I'm sorry, but I wanted to show you guys, like he even knows. And even I found out when I was dating my husband, they think that all Black people are rappers, entertainers, athletes. They think everybody lives in huge houses, and they think everybody, like, the ultimate vehicle to ride around in is a Cadillac Escalade. That sounds like a big ass stereotype, but that's what they see.
But another thing to me is, like, even going back to something else we talked about privately about silence and listening. A lot of our community, Richie, because I have an issue right now, it's like, don't talk about anything that you don't know. You know, it's important for us to understand in our community, we can be emotional and we can be passionate, but get the education, get the intelligence, find a way to find out the things you need to know, because wars are started off of ignorance. They're really not started for people that are really intelligent, because most intelligent people would be like, well, let's think about that. Let's talk about it.
I don't know about that.
But when you get on here, you can get what I'm saying. In majority, when you get up here and someone does what they did, look what happens, and then you find out you didn't watch it.
You ain't even informed. You making a decision and you're not even informed. Now, I'm not saying that you're not informed about the subject he was trying to preach about. You weren't informed about this movie to think that there was perpetuation of hood victim mentality. The victim in the damn movie was not the stereotype. He was against it.
And
he was everything that stereotype was not. I want to, because I haven't had a chance to talk on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Scene. Okay, so I have a 13-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
This is what these movies like this constantly reiterate the fear I have in my heart for my child. It took me a year after When They See Us came out to watch it, because I was not ready to see the story of what happened to children who look like my child. And it's just some shit. I'm usually not easily shook, easily rocked like that, but that rocked me. And I was extra touchy-feely, huggy, connected to my son for days after that. However, the positive part of it is that it sparked a conversation with my son that I hadn't had yet, because I'm thinking in my head, I need to start talking to you about this more so when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you're going to be out somewhere, you're not with me, really, until then. But then, watching that, I was like, this youngest kid was like 10. What? So, that movie, I had to wait. The other one, I can't remember the other one where the athlete had the brush and he got shot and killed. He was an athlete. I can't remember that one. That one came out a couple years ago. Took a year before I would watch that. So my husband was like, all right, let's watch this. That scene, I had to have him pause it a few times. I said, can you just pause it for me? Just pause it for me. Because I already know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I see my child. When I watch these movies, I see my child. Not when it's the stereotypical one who oozes murder, violence, and aggression, the stereotype that's trying to be forced down our throat. When it's I'm just coming back from basketball practice back boy. I'm just coming home from my friend's house who lives in this affluent neighborhood, Black boy. The Dean's List honor roll, Black boy. The STEM engineering child, that Black boy, that can get killed because for an insurance card. So that scene fucked me all up.
Yeah.
As a human, as a mother, like I had to call, my son was downstairs playing Fortnite. I was like, get off the game right now. I need to touch you. And here he go, what are you watching? What are you watching? I need to touch you. I need to hug you. I need to, you know, and he, even days after, he just be like, are you all right? Because he senses a whole shift in my spirit. Because I see, so it was fucked up. It was wrong on all counts. Because y'all already know that typically I'll tell y'all, hey, legally, this was what's supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. That scene right there, I loved it because it took all of my legal everything out. I was like, there was nothing. There was nothing.
All of it was legal though.
It was not.
Yes, it was.
That shot was not legal.
That's why he was. We'll go on to the next.
I got you.
That is why all of it was legal. That's one of the reasons why I loved. I'm gonna say yes. I love this movie because all of the narratives, like they were on point on some of the stuff, on a lot of the stuff.
Right, I got you. I got you. Look, we've got some. I'm sorry, we got people making comments. Hold on,
Right,
I don't want to.
They are going for it.
They are. Okay, so say what I feel, Dre. That's a long name. I'm gonna just call you Dre. Dre came in. He's actually from from our area. As a matter of fact, he said it's a Dre. He said he's never had an issue with the cops here in our area, but he knows that we're not, immune to it. Then he says, while white people are teaching their 7-year-old child how to throw a football, I'm teaching my 7-year-old how to proceed when they get stopped by the police. Sherry says, exactly, these conversations are sad, yet they are mandatory. Let's see. Sherry says, Harriet Tubman said, I freed 1,000 slaves and could not have freed 1,000. I could have freed 1,000 more only if they knew that they were slaves. They bet on our division within. I'm going to just say too, Dre, I have never in the city of Hampton had issues with any Hampton cops, but I have run into issues with Newport News police.
Definitely Newport News. Newport News,
yes. Hampton, nah. Hey, what's up, Denise? I see you there. Hold on, that was repeated. Okay. I'll go to that in a minute. All right. So that's what I felt about that particular scene. What scene do you want to discuss before we get to actually the police station?
Okay. Let me get to my notes.
I don't even remember anything between there. I felt like they just
boomed. If you don't have one, I have one to throw out there. Before the father went to the station, there was a scene where I'm gonna say they sent the sacrificial Black cop to the parents' home discuss telling the community that violence was not the answer.
He's chief, right?
I guess I shouldn't have loaded that sacrificial piece. But what did you think about the cops sending a cop to come talk to the family about the situation? Year later, by the way, after the son has died, we supposed to be having quick and swift justice, but we just now getting the answer a year later. So, and then the cop situation. So go ahead.
I think it's bullshit.
Right.
The cop that they always send in, they try and send one who's as diplomatic as they can be, but at the same time, they look familiar because they look like us. So that's supposed to pacify the situation or help smooth it over. Fuck that. That cop, along with the whole Johnny Carson motherfucker who looked like the lawyer who's not Ben Carson. What is this dude's name? The lawyer that all the people who were killed last year, who keeps showing up with all of these families all over the fucking country. Fuck him. No, we're not settling. We're not you choose violence, motherfucker, you gonna get violence. You were violent towards my child and you killed him, and you want me to speak peace to everybody in this neighborhood and everybody in the city and get them to calm down? Fuck that. Burn this shit down. You killed me, bring yours and put his head on the stake too, because apparently you think that mine doesn't deserve to live like everyone else and live in peace and harmony and be so happy and so everything is beautiful and unicorns and peaches and cream. No, that is not the world that we live in. That is not the society that you have perpetuated and created for us. So how dare you think that we are supposed to be okay and just accept everything that y'all are doing to us? That is bullshit. There's no way you can honestly say and think and feel that is perfectly okay. It's not.
Right.
Everyone else can choose violence and can react when whatever situation has happened. These motherfuckers got mad because you're taking the country back. You're taking our rights and y'all gonna storm the Capitol. Okay, that's what you want to do. You want to storm the Capitol because they're taking your rights. What rights? What rights are they taking?
But we're not allowed to react when you take our lives. Okay.
But, right. You want us to be cool, calm, and collected because you just shot at us, or you killed someone in my family, or you killed my child or my husband or my granddad or my uncle or my coworker, because let's be honest, it happens to a lot of people all over the place. But right. Because that situation took place, I'm supposed to choose peace. Because that situation took place and I'm supposed to be a Christian, you want me to turn the other cheek and let you smack me there too? Bitch, I wish a motherfucker would. We're not doing that.
She's okay, shotgun.
To the ground.
Right. It's loaded, but you
burn it.
You know what? What you just said was really, really sad, because all the examples you gave were all Black men.
Right.
And you did that subconsciously. You weren't even thinking about it. You said, so if y'all kill my son, you kill my nephew, you kill my brother, you kill my father, you kill my grandfather, you kill my uncle.
Amen.
Those are all the Black men. It's like they are really trying to extinguish our race by taking the men out.
You're taking the seed. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. They use women. You think about slavery and how they use women and raped our women, but you think about them, how they beat up men, which carry the seed. And then I was in the movie, I got, caught into a lot of quotes in it. And there was one from Link that said, those laws weren't written with us in mind. And anyone that tells you differently is either white or just lucky they haven't had to put it to the test yet.
Right.
A lot of things that were said that was like permeating my brain is like, and as I'm learning even now, it's not written for us in mind. It's written for us to be stopped. It's like it's written for us to not push forward, but to stay back. It's not even like moving. It's like they just want us to be stuck.
Stagnant.
There's no real movement. It was like, as long as you do this job, as long as you, because I hate the word boy. The good that when they say boy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As long as you do this, boy, and it's gonna be fine.
Right.
You start to make up your mind that just things in the world are not right, and it goes beyond. Of course we're talking about Black, but it just not right. A lot of times I look at the world and I look at what we're talking about now, and it's like, why doesn't it just be the majority of people realizing, just from a human point of view, anyone, any culture being treated like this is just not right? But it goes back to a lot of people believe that not right.
Right.
That's the one thing that I said about Trump. Didn't like Trump, but Trump sure did take the cover off of what was there that already existed. Mm-hmm. These people that, stormed the Capitol, they've been like that. They just had somebody that they felt like was a leader to allow them to be a fool.
Right.
So it's just definitely.
I'm gonna go back to what Dizzy was asking though, about that scene. Now I found myself conflicted watching that scene, because when I first started to watch it, the young man that was holding that camera, and
I was wondering if somebody was going to talk about him. Yeah.
He was going off, he was yelling, he was fussing. At first, I sat here and my mind went into, I don't even know what to call it. Y'all may have a better definition for it, but it went into reaction mode of, hey man, shut up for you fucking, hey, be quiet, calm down, you escalating this shit. At first, that's where my mind went. But when I thought about it, I'm like, well, how the fuck they expect him to feel?
Right.
Exactly.
And I had to clear that within myself for a second. Like, and that's the thing. We get thrown into that mindset of, hey, don't do that around here. You're gonna bring more drama over here. Stop it. Don't do that shit. Like, no, fuck that motherfucker. Burn, like Candice said, burn this bitch down.
And you don't want to be uncomfortable, but like in the movie, I think the point was showing like, when is enough is enough. And another quote that I love from actually Jordan was, great nations aren't great because they oppress, but because they liberate, not because they kill, but because they heal. Like they were really like throwing a lot.
A lot.
It was like, I had to pause just like you did and say, oh, wait a minute, hold on, let me digest what they just said. So
yeah, I for me, I think it was definitely a setup.
Yeah.
Because you knew at this time, first of all, don't send no cops to my house to talk to me about shit.
That's the first thing.
When one of your own have killed my child.
Right.
You
could have this shit could have been an email. You could have texted me. I don't want to see you, because I will tell you this. It may be fortunate or unfortunate. In this particular movie, I'm not the mama. I'm the father.
Right.
That's who I am. I am the antagonizer. My husband is more so the pacifist. So let a badge come to my door to talk to me about any goddamn thing. We setting this shit off. I would have been the boy holding the phone. There would have been for my child. Don't expect me to compose myself when you have killed my child. And don't play me thinking I'm gonna be pacified by sending a cop that looks like me, because he can catch it too. Don't think that part pissed me off. I said, oh, so you gonna send in the sacrificial lamb because you think I won't pop off. You think I won't pop off on him too?
Nope, he gonna work too.
Yeah, he gonna catch his work too. It's funny because when I saw that scene, I was still pissed that she went out and made the speech and said be non-violent. I was pissed about that. But I had it was almost an argument. I'm gonna say it was a debate like a year ago. No, it wasn't a year ago. It was around the time George Floyd. And he asked me, if this happened to me, what would you do? Like if the cops came to you and said, tell people to stop this. I said, Reese, let me tell you right now.
Right.
Once it was Officer Smith at this precinct, trust and believe, I have a whole plan on who's going to take care of my kids. Because violence will occur and keep reoccurring. Violence me to come outside and say be nonviolent, I'm gonna get to the mic and be like, keep the party going and walk off, because I'm not gonna tell people how to be angry. I'm not gonna tell people how to be angry. If they can storm the Capitol and take these pedestals and laptops and shit, then we can go burn a Target. Leave me out of it. I will be the most violent one because you have taken my child. And I feel the guy who was extremely upset coming for the cop, that's how a lot of African-American people release their stress, their trauma. He experienced the trauma. You took someone from him who looks like him, talks like him, walks like him, same age range. He's pissed and he's scared. Not of the cop, for the fact that he knows he can be next. He's scared. So I wouldn't have been like, calm down, sit down, nothing. I'd just.
So let me
when can I jump in and cuss? You know what I'm saying? So
someone would come and ask me and give me a mic. Well, we need you to make a statement for everyone and get them to calm down. Okay, I will make a statement. I'm not telling you what kind of statement it's gonna be, but I will make a statement. And soon as you bring me to that microphone, burn it down.
Exactly. Give me a mic. You don't want me to have a mic.
So let me ask you a question, though. Let me ask you a good question. It's a loaded question because, I always believe that when you're on platforms, you already know, Cabana, I'm mindful because you be responsible what you say out your mouth.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm always going to do it. But in this time of change and in this time of me thinking, do you think that we need an uprising?
I believe it's
because a lot of what this movie did for me, which is the danger of, like I said, that's why I said I don't say love or light, because things like this is real. So people take it to heart, just like those skinheads and all these other movies and these white brothers and sisters be out here getting influenced and not seeing all stuff. I was sitting here and this movie was like, do we need an uprising? And it's a serious question, and I know that Kela will answer.
Yeah, she's getting ready to answer that.
Can y'all hear me? You know what I'm saying? I don't
Yeah.
know if y'all can hear me.
I can feel you.
You saying what I said.
Go ahead.
We are in the middle of an uprising.
Okay.
We are outgunned, so it doesn't look like it used to. Remember when I said a couple of shows ago last year that we are in the middle of a civil war at the moment. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look the same because we are not as heavily armed as they used to. So now we need to use our brains. And us talking about being involved in our communities and stuff like that, that is the uprising. The fact that we are sharing information with each other the way that we are so openly is the uprising. We are arming ourselves with the tools of knowledge and giving it to other people so that they can be as fully loaded as we are. And we are constantly like stacking our ammo.
Right.
We are in the middle of an uprising. We are not taking this bullshit anymore. I'm just sitting back listening to you guys because I feel like this was me throughout our first season. And I think that your opinions weren't as strongly put out there as they are being today. But you three have children, and so I feel like you're feeling it more, you know what I mean, with this movie and with your language and with how you are viewing the greater society and the controls that are put in place. I think your opinions are a little bit different, which I love.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I do also want to point out that all of this is by design. They know exactly what they're doing. They know where to police. They know how to act. They know. Okay.
Right.
So everybody who's listening, I feel like now your opinions of how, of these situations that happen in the world when it comes to the police will be a little bit different. You will have a little bit more understanding of the other person and not just the being on the side of the police, because I think now you see it as an organization, that it's not the people within that organization, but it's actually the organization itself, because it will run with any and everybody who's in it. You can put the best person inside of this organization and it is still this organization. And so that's why the uprising is us making sure that we are involved in our local communities to make sure that the police are held accountable. And that is what this movie showed me. The police need to be held accountable. Okay, we get into the other part. It's just that the scene at the police station just reveals so much about America at the moment. The arguments that are being had, how the police feels, showing it from both sides, having the argument out loud with everybody in the room on all sides.
That was the most important part.
Right. We can slide to that scene, by the way. We can go ahead and slide and caveat to that scene. Go ahead, Kela, keep expanding on it.
So in that scene, you have all people from all walks of life saying what, America is saying right now. And I thought it was great that everybody had the same platform, no matter if they were a criminal who they had just brought from the cells to the chief to, a female cop or whatever. They had almost all representation. And it's just amazing how the systems that are in place are here to control all of us. Okay. It is definitely, the pressure is put upon Black people. But what white people and other, ethnicities don't understand, other races don't understand, is that as soon as the focus is taken off Black people, it will be redirected somewhere else. So you might as well get up on the train and try to fix it. Don't ignore it. Let's
that was good.
Everybody.
That was good.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how I felt about that whole. We can dig deeper into it. What y'all think?
Okay, so let's talk about about that. Go ahead, Greg.
Being a father of 4 boys, 23, 20, 19, and 12, the whole spectrum of ages. I'm gonna tell you now, I couldn't have had the poise that man had in that precinct. I couldn't have had it. Whereas, spoiler alert, whereas you heard a click when he pulled that trigger, I'm sorry. You wouldn't have heard no click. You would have heard the whole explosion and it had been done and over with, justice served. It wouldn't have been a scene of me getting jurors. No, I'm seeking you out.
Right.
I'm seeking you out and I'm destroying you. And I apologize. No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm coming for your family just like you came for mine. Period.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that.
Feel my pain, feel my loss. The way my wife is crying about her son. Watch your wife cry.
Well, you've already killed him in the.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I'm talking about before I served my justice.
No, I know. I'm just messing. I'm messing with you.
But man, I couldn't have it. Like like you said, Kela, you know, everything's by design. Like he designed that whole situation. He knew.
That was amazing.
That was great.
Knew what was gonna happen in the end. He knew.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of felt bad for the people that went along with him, but at the same time I didn't because they knew what they were signing up for.
His team?
Agree.
Well, I think they were there. They were riding. You saw what happened when the man got
They
shot.
knew what they were signing up for.
I think they were riding, but I don't think they knew. Like, I don't think they knew how far the tunnel was gonna go. I don't think.
No. I believe they knew that, but I don't think that they understood that they knew he was being a martyr. He knew he was gonna die.
I think the crew,
I don't think that.
like his friends, his family members, I think they kind of had an idea of how far left this could go and would go, and they didn't care. They were in for it, which is why his uncle was like, I done lived my life. Don't call nobody. Don't call no ambulance. I'm in here. Keep the show rolling. I think at the same time, the camera crew didn't know what they signed up for.
Yeah, that's all I was talking about. When
They didn't know. They didn't know.
Everybody, I was like, I don't think the camera people actually knew.
Yeah.
No. Come on. When I said his crew, I meant his homeboys that came in with the gun.
Oh, okay, yeah, definitely. They was like,
Yeah, they knew what was going down.
But the camera crew they were so far. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like when he rode up to the police captain's house and brought him out while he was still getting dressed, he was like, what are you doing? Wait, what happened? How did we get to this place? Like, what are you doing? He was like, drive.
Shut up,
So
drive,
we
bitch.
hauled ass at that point. So you get to the precinct and they busting everything when they walked in. The camera crew was like, oh shit, they're really doing this. It's too far gone. I can't back out now. What do we do? And the dude looked at the girl and was like, we're here now. Keep filming. That's all we can do at this point.
I mean, they were children. They were afraid for sure. So,
Right.
Oh yeah.
So we got a statement from Denise. She said, I shouldn't say this, but it's true. My sister is a cop, my brother is a cop, and I was married to a cop for 10 years. And watching from the side, they must be taught arrogance or this high and mighty syndrome, like nothing they did was wrong. So if these are Black cops, imagine the mindset of a white cop. Cops know that they are protected by the system.
Yeah.
Of course. They especially so I can understand, you know, your training and certain things that you're taught in how to react in certain situations. I got it. We have service members that go down range and still have to execute a certain level of decorum, and they still have to remember their training in how they are supposed to act when they're out there. They have rules of engagement. Yeah, we were sending them over to Iraq to go bust shit up and shoot people and whatever else. But they have rules of engagement. They just can't walk out and shoot everybody that they see. Cops here, not just saying here in my city specifically, but just here stateside, don't have the same rules of engagement that our military has. Our military has way better self-control when they're downrange.
You think they have way better
situation than these cops do stateside? Like, where's the training? Where's the difference in training and the mindset that was created for them to be like, okay, this is how you're supposed to act when you are involved in this type of a situation. This is how you respond. This is how you de-escalate. This is how. So these are the things that I see as a difference with cops versus service members. But the thing is, the military knows, okay, if I do this, I'm going to lose rank. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose my free time. I may lose my job, and it'll be even harder for me to get a job once I get put out. UCMJ is gods to them, basically. So police on the other end, they're not afraid of what's going to happen on the other end. They aren't. They aren't worried about losing pay, losing time off from their job, losing their job. They aren't afraid of that. And not saying you have to be afraid of what should happen, but there
needs to be consequence.
Yeah.
There needs to be a consequence. Go ahead, look,
the consequence of whatever action you've done. Every action requires an equal or opposite reaction. Cops are not worried about what opposite reaction is going to happen from them discharging their weapon and shooting somebody. Whether they kill them or not, they don't care about the repercussions of it.
Because I feel like they're encouraged to do so, though.
There are no repercussions.
I think they're encouraged to do so. Cops are encouraged with their behavior. A lot of times we see a lot of things. I think, of course, we know some things and some things are speculated, but I do believe that there is a language amongst them that's encouraged.
Kela, what were you gonna say?
These organizations, like the people, stop thinking about it as the people have choices when they work in these organizations. They have zero choices. They are the arm of the government. The military is one arm of the government. The police, they are another arm of the government. They have their own rules that's set at the top that not one person in those organizations can change. So the way that the military has to act when they are on foreign soil, somewhere that is not their house, somewhere where they are a guest, they had to come up with rules of engagement. The governments did, not the people, not the military individuals, but the governments came up with their own rules of how they act when they're in each other's countries. Okay, so that's why you see so much restraint, because we can't just go around killing willy-nilly, you know what I'm saying, in other people's backyard. But in our backyard, we can do whatever the fuck we want. And so the government has made it that the police are just an arm of the government. They can do whatever the fuck they want. So the rules, yes, it protects whoever's inside of that, because they never want to lose sight. They don't ever want the civilians, the people that they are controlling, the citizens, to know that they have a choice. They can do what, these are just the governments. People within those organizations are just pawns. So that's why they have to act differently. Because when I'm in my own house, I can do whatever I want. I could whoop my kids if I want to, but I can't whoop the neighbor's kids if I'm over there babysitting.
Right. So we got some military members in here that actually responded, and they are saying, yes, hold on, let me go back.
Let me say discipline, because I ain't got kids and I don't know if I would whoop mine. You know what I mean? Let me put that out there.
Look, you might whoop somebody else's while you out there.
Kela would definitely whoop somebody else's child.
Okay. So Albert Brunson said, yes, Candice, preach. You have to go through shot, no shot, not celebrities. What the hell is wrong with me? Shot and no shot scenarios. God, stop commenting so I can read it. All right. They are not subject to disciplinary action. Qualified immunity protects the police officers from civil lawsuits. Someone says, I was a PO and there are even rules for them. Certain things they side eye you. And Albert says it's about host nation laws. So I'm listening to both of you guys, and I do agree that of course there's going to be a separate set of rules for what they do outside of the country and what they do inside of our country. But I'm like, there should definitely be accountability on both sides, but I understand why there's more accountability on the military, because you discharge your weapon and shoot the wrong motherfucker. It's an international incident. Like, we on stage for everybody to see that you shot, this person in, Iran, Iraq, wherever you are. You shot this person against orders that you were given. It was not, it was something you weren't supposed to do. It was not mandatory. You weren't supposed to do it. You can cause an international incident. You know what I'm saying? Where an entire country is now coming for us because you did not follow the rules of engagement. But I do agree with what Kela said, is that, well, we were talking about this before, about there needs to be some set of circumstances, accountability for cops. And one thing that I think we discussed before was they have to have, didn't we talk about insurance?
They have to have training too.
Not just the training. They've been trained. They're not trained enough, but
they're not trained enough. They're not trained at all. Like,
they are trained incorrectly. They are trained, and they are trained a lot. They are trained
I'm not
incorrectly.
talking about, like, you know what I mean? Like, y'all
No,
understand as far as the rules of engagement. And my thing is, you're saying, for instance, that it's okay, because it sounds like minimizing to me. And that's the one thing that I see about the United States in just general is like, we'll say you go overseas, and you say because you hit somebody in international grounds, we minimize because they're going to bring a whole country. Overall, death is a problem. Like, I'm in my mind is like, yo, are we just minimizing because this person is political, and because this person is not political and not important, it doesn't mean
No. That's not what I was saying at all. You have to understand that the military has multi-million dollars behind it for training and weapons and etc. These police damn officers don't. They don't have it. They don't get the same training as Master Sergeant blah, blah, blah. They don't get the same tactical training. They don't get it. Theirs is take this little 8-week course. Let me throw this badge on you. Let me put you out in the street. Whereas when you got military, they are always training, always exercises.
That's what I was just saying. I was just saying that
so I wasn't minimizing. I'm not minimizing anybody's life. I'm just saying, if you look at no one's life is any less than the other. But I'm talking about in the big scheme of things. If Joe the cop shoots my child this weekend, it's a local incident. It's a local incident. It might make the news. It might not. We might burn up some shit. We might not. It's a local incident. But if Greg is over in Iraq and shoots somebody he's not supposed to shoot, it's a no-shoot zone or whatever. I don't know the terminology because I'm not military. And he shoots, it's much more than having to answer to the mother of who he shot. Yeah. It is a huge repercussion on him, his career, his family, his country, if he makes those mistakes. But again, there's multi-million dollars that has gone into training him to not make those mistakes.
So how is it that the United States, how is it police officers are able to still get the same type of equipment and the same type of
it's not the same type. Go ahead, Greg. That's Greg's field. That's Greg's field.
Police officers that are getting some of the equipment that military have been using or that they are using, and then they're using it for their SWAT teams or they're using it in local incidents.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't had that type of training. You don't need to use these type of equipment.
Go ahead, Greg.
Hila said it best earlier already, because it's still the government. It's still an arm of the government. It doesn't matter if it's police. It doesn't matter if it's National Guard. It doesn't matter if it's active duty. It don't matter. I don't give a damn if you're Coast Guard. It's all U.S. government dollars. And at the end of the day, the government controls everything. I don't care. It's like having a bouncer at your nightclub. That's the police. And then you have the actual police. That's the military. So at a nightclub, something happened, the bouncer can fuck you up and may have a baton, may have some handcuffs, but they're not trained as well as the police to come and de-escalate that situation. It's the same damn difference, to be honest.
It seems like it's just, like I said, it feels like minimizing because once again, it's like
not minimizing.
My brain is like, from the side of my perspective is, you have life, you have people that are working a job where they're carrying weapons. I feel like anyone that has a job that they're carrying weapons, I'm not saying that you get a degree, no, I am saying that you carrying a weapon and your job is to protect and serve or whatever you're going to do. It just seems like over here, it's like, oh yeah, because you're, in the military, we're going to do all this for you, we want to fund all this money. And if Kela's right, and then she is, and everything's under the government, then to me, the government is being very selective and on purpose.
That is just another tier of the government's aggression that they will put on a person. So
it seems like it's the most
line of defense. That's the front line against their people. Then you have the National Guard, just like you saw at the Capitol. Then you have the military if they have to come on top of that, or whatever the next levels are.
But does the cop seem more dangerous? Like, it seems like the ones that is on the lowest totem pole is really causing some mess up situations and they're not being handled. Like Diddy said, they're not being made accountable. They're not. It's like,
because if you hold the police accountable, that means that you are also holding the American government accountable. They do not want to be held accountable. I know it's hard to get that don't think about the people who are, like, you are thinking on a very personal level, which I understand. But when you're talking about these organizations, they are run by the government.
Right.
So they do whatever they want because it is all a reflection of the government. And if the government is telling you, America the beautiful, land of the free, everybody's equal, come here and have your dreams, you know what I mean, be a billionaire, be the next Bezos.
that's
Then
right.
we also can't say,
That's
but
right.
we are going to poison your water. We are going to fuck y'all up. We are going to go and kill these people for the resources they got. We are going to give away government contracts to our friends. We are going to make sure that you guys can't vote in the way that you want to. They can't say all of that and also claim to be #1 in the world, which they are not. 2017.
Yeah, that is very frustrating and very unfortunate. It makes me like,
you have to look at the design. We are so distracted by TV. This is one thing that came with COVID, is that everybody is now able to pay attention because we have slowed down. We're not going to the club. We're not distracting ourselves with things that make us happy because shit is so fucked up out here.
right.
We distract
Albert
ourselves
just made
trying to
a
make us
point.
happy, and now we're actually taking a look at it, and it's like, oh damn, okay, this is a lot deeper than I thought. It takes a lot to organize all of this, and so it is very deep rooted. It is just how they've been practicing it since the beginning of the time, since people have been able to organize a leader and followers. They have been growing this society, and they are getting better and better at it because now we have technology. I don't even want to think about what's happening in 50 years.
Right. So we got some military people going back and forth trying to help give some insight to what you're saying, to what we're talking about. Denise says, I hear you, Cabana, but trust me, they go to training monthly and turns on de-escalation. It's an excuse. LAPD's boot camp is longer than the damn military. Eric, no, that's my boy. What's up, Long? He says their training reinforces I'm not there. Wait a minute, that's not it. Yes, it is. Their training reinforces bias, if you ask me. There is little to no accountability after they say, I fear for my life. They operate with impunity. Albert says civilians go through less training to get a concealed weapon and are still held at a higher standard for restraint than the police are. And then Long says, facts, we have to reverse qualified immunity. Okay, I don't know what that is. Can somebody explain to me in the comments what is qualified immunity?
Yeah.
Can Albert or Long, one of y'all type in there what that means so we can understand? I want to understand what you're saying from your point of view.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about that concealed carry, right? Like he said, you have to have more restraint than the police, right? But even a person with concealed carry, if they feel like their life is in danger or somebody's life is in danger, they can still pop off. They can pop off just like the police. And even in training, they'll tell you, you have to make sure you're saying out loud that you fear for your life. You have to yell out the restraint, like, please don't make me do this and da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, that's the same thing that the cops be yelling out. Exactly the same kind of thing.
But who in the middle of fearing for their life thinks of this sentence? Like, I'm just saying, in real life terms, if you really are in a situation where you fear for your life, who has this sentence in their mental Rolodex to say?
Those that are trained to say it over and over again and programmed to say that to cover their asses in court.
Which civilians who conceal carry should too. Because we all know people shouldn't be out here untrained with a gun. So if you get a concealed carry, practice. If you have a gun, practice.
Okay, so qualified immunity protects the police from civil lawsuits.
Definition.
Okay.
Wikipedia says, in the United States, qualified immunity is a legal principle that grants government officials, see what I'm saying,
Oh shit, I'm a government
They
official.
call them police, they call them the military, but they are still government officials performing discretionary functions, immunity from civil lawsuits unless the plaintiff shows that the official violated clearly established statutory and constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. So government officials, that's anybody from a lawyer in the government to a police officer in the government.
Hey, and Dre said it. Dre said something else. Sovereign citizens.
So if you take it back to the movie, what did the child do? The 14-year-old boy, what did he do that warranted being shot from this officer?
Nothing.
At what point is holding a cell phone and recording?
Running away.
Being a scared 14-year-old.
But like we said, it's already set up that way. And then it's like in the movie, the decision that he made, because it's like, yeah, you know, Dizzy, I can understand Dizzy if I was a parent. No, I can understand from my niece, because you know how I feel about my niece, Dizzy.
Right.
I will burn up America. But but at the same time, you know, I get that I could potentially be the character, the father in the movie, because I would know, because for me, I knew that he diabolically made decisions. There may have been some things along the way, because you're going to get some snafus, but he made those choices and decisions of not to do something as opposed to do something, because he could have easily, when he got up there, just handled his business and been done. But he
who could have handled what business? Who?
The father.
Could have done what?
Killed. You know, he could have just handled the cop and been done.
If he had a gun.
Right. But
okay.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't do it. So I'm saying, like, as much as, you know, when I watched the movie, what would have been more obvious, meaning like going there and just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It seems like not only did he want to get justice, but he wanted to prove the injustice for everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that takes a very different individual. And that individual, it's like, I see like myself as that individual, but when I hear all of this stuff, it's like, damn, I just want to blow everything up and be done. You know, I'm like, because it's very, like when we was talking to Richie, it feels like pouring quicksand on top of something after you dug it out. And it's not even clean, but you got it out and then you're pouring it again. And after a while, I can't imagine, because that's how I feel when a person has a child and it is not, their child gets murdered and the cops are, of course, not dealt with. And over a year time, you're just dealing with that thing. No justice, no peace, no nothing. Nightmares at home. Marriages go through problems when like, there's so much that happens. And the breaking point, I was like, yeah, at the end of this movie, he gonna pop, 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 pop.
Right.
No, he didn't. So he still had a mindset, because he already had a mindset for his child to do better and have better. So he still had this mindset. And I was like, dang, it's just kind of deep to me. You know, listen to that.
Yeah. Even if you go back to the conversation that he walked in on, his son was having a Zoom or FaceTime or something with one of his friends. And he was explaining basically the information that he had looked up or the laws and the education that he was receiving at this prestigious school that he was attending. Cool, I get it. That is why I'm having these same type of conversations, and my husband as well. That is why we're having these conversations with our children, because when you are able to remove them from an environment that won't teach them certain things and you want them to have a better education, you put them in a better school system. 9 times out of 10, that school system is predominantly white. Or it's not a bunch of people in the school system or in your class that looks like you. So when you put them in that situation, you still have to educate them at home, because the information that they are receiving is pacified. You got school books that are, I think I've said it before, that are talking about the Trail of Tears was, oh, it's just a long journey that they went on and we gave them some blankets to stay warm. Bitch, that is not what the Trail of Tears was about. And if your school book says that, burn that motherfucker. The book, not school, the book.
Not the school, the book.
So these are the things that, you know, that you may have the that your student or that your child may be learning and receiving once they get into school. So what his son was learning in school was correct. They were teaching you the laws. They were teaching you exactly how the Constitution is written, exactly how the Bill of Rights are written, exactly how the amendments are written. But what they haven't taught you, or what they pacify or smooth over or just kind of skip over, is those laws were not written with you in mind, sweetheart. Those laws were not written for people who look like us. I don't think
it's the school's responsibility to teach my child that. That's mine.
Right. And so that's why
they can mess that up too. Like, no, Johnny, you're just fine. No, Johnny is not fine.
Exactly.
Not fine.
And that's why
I tell my Johnny that is fine. No, it's not.
Exactly. And that's
Greg,
why
I saw your hand. Did you mean to raise your hand or no?
Yeah, I did, but I mean, I was letting Candice finish what she was saying.
Okay. I was like, what's happening on my screen? Go ahead.
That's what I was saying. We still have to teach them at home, because if you can't completely rely on the school to teach them everything they need to know as far as how you are supposed to make it home safe to me and make sure that you don't get shot in the street like a dog or hit like a deer on the side of the road. I still need you to be aware, baby, at the end of the day, you are still a Black person. You are still a Black boy who is going to be viewed as a Black man. So they're going to look at you as a threat. You can be 4 foot nothing, and they're going to call you a grown man, and they're going to say, well, this man he's not a man. He is a child. He is a boy. He is under the age of 16. Let that baby be a boy. Let him still be a child. And these are the things that society has taken from us, because they look at us as, hey, once you cross this little threshold right here, you're a threat to everybody around you. That's not the case. And that's why I said we still have to teach them at home, because in schools, they're giving you exactly what the laws are, black and white. This is what the Bill of Rights said. This is what the amendments say, blah, blah, blah. This is what the police officers are allowed to do. This is what they can't do. However, that don't all the way apply to you all the time. So you have to exercise a different level of restraint than your white counterparts over here. So you can hang out with your homies on the track team, or you can hang out with your buddies on the basketball team that are white, and that's cool. But you can't go out here and act like them when they decide that they're going to pop off and yell back at the police officer. Well, shut up, man. You don't care. I don't care about what you're saying. No.
I got a question after that. But
I have an aha too.
I have a question on that one. I want Greg to be able to say what he has to say.
Yeah.
So what that scene that you're talking about though, Candice, what it brought up to me was two things. One, I love the fact that it was a each one teach one situation to begin with. Okay. That young Black boy, he was in a different environment, different kind of school. And he was teaching his homeboy that live in the same neighborhood, that go to the school he probably should have been going to because of the neighborhood he live in. He's trying to teach him what he's learning in school. What I didn't like was, at the same time the father was teaching him about, you know, you're Black and this is how it's supposed to be. Don't pacify that young man's education though. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, but you can't, or you're wrong. It's not that you're wrong, son. It's that we can't live by that same token that they're teaching you at that school. But like I said, it was a great moment because it was the each one teach one moment with that young boy teaching the other young boy. But it shows what happens right now in this day and age, still to this day, because that's how schools are broken up. I grew up in one side of the city, got bussed out to a whole, I mean, I'm talking 30, 45 minutes away to go to a predominantly white school every day. Not because that's where my mother wanted me to go. That was predetermined by the way they set up townships and set up districts and things like that. So it's like, I'm getting an education out here with these white folks, but then there's people that live right 2 blocks over that have to go to the inner city schools, you know what I'm saying? And they not getting the same exact information I'm getting. They're not giving you the same information. And it was made blatantly seen because that black boy that's going to this predominantly white school was teaching this black boy going to the school in the inner city stuff that he should be learning in school. But at the same time, he's not getting that information. They are filtering the information.
And isn't that a double-edged sword? Because me and Kela had a really deep discussion last night, and it pricked upon mine. She's talking about something, and I was thinking about my niece. And she said, you know, you can do whatever you want to do, but they're going to have to learn. Like, you can teach them. Remember you talking to me and you were saying about teaching, you know, your children, but eventually they're still going to do what they do. And I don't know if I'm having an aha right now, but I'm thinking like, one of the things that struck me is like, yeah, you got your son out of this neighborhood. And I said to myself, but still, that's not a good thing because you're taking him out of a neighborhood from his culture and his people, because that is very still necessary. But then you put him in a neighborhood that is education driven, but is not culturally safe and dangerous. And the reason he got shot is the reason that you was warning him not to do these things, not to do that. But then I thought about what Kela said to me last night. I can tell my niece, God knows, it makes me shake to my bones because I'm not a parent, but God knows. When she was at Florida, I prayed every day. I was so worried because she was always around racial tension, like legit. But decisions are made from them, and it's good to teach them. But at the same time, the reason I felt like my niece was so good is that my sister was determined culturally. She just was surrounded. She was aware, not just of decisions, but she was aware of her people. She was aware of her makeup and what to be around. Because even though she was at college in Florida, she sought out her culture. She didn't just say, well, we gonna be friends. No. I know where I'm at. I know what's going on. So I need to find a clique, people that are me, because there it was a lot of things. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's kind of like this double-edged sword that's been created, because in one instance it's good because you're getting, this education and you're quote safe, but you're not really safe because you're being placed in an area that does not respect who you are right here.
I don't, okay. So
and I've been raised.
Right. I like that thought process. I like that thought process. I understand what
it's just thinking. I was just thinking out loud.
I understand that thought process. I think for me, at the end of the day, for real, we not safe any goddamn where.
Right. True.
So having the mentality that we are 100% safe anywhere is fantasy. We're not. We are not 100% safe necessarily in our own neighborhoods or our own schools. We're not 100% safe. We're not in other, or homes, right? And we're not 100% safe in other cultures. I feel the father did the right thing because he wanted more for his son. I think the school did the job that they were slated to do by telling him the rules of the country. And I think dad did the just thing and said, yes, that's the laws you've been told, but let me tell you what it really means. Because so yes, these laws, this is what's in black and white, but this is what it really means. I don't think the best answer is let somebody stay in, like myself, for instance. I don't think it's right. It's safe or smart for me to only be around my culture all day, every day. Because
that's not what I said, though.
I know, but you said.
What I'm saying is there's not a balance. I'm saying
but there was a balance. The father did provide a balance. I didn't move you out of the hood. I allowed you to get educated somewhere else, but we still live in the hood. That's balance. That is balance. Hold on. I let you still hang out. I don't remember his friend's name. You still hang, chill, talk, whatever, with your homies around here. That's fine. You're getting that culture and that education from your culture that way. But I want more for my child. So if that means I want to send you farther to get a better education, that's cool. But I'm going to balance it out with real life lessons that you need from this culture right here that is home. So look, I ain't never, I mean, unless you want to call Bethel Manor back in the day a little bit hood, I've never lived in the hood. My grandparents did. So we were, every summer I was in the hood with my grandparents. Loved it too. I experienced that culture, but I'm a military brat. I've never really lived in the hood, but I went to Hampton High School.
Well, I lived in the hood,
Okay.
23.
Right,
I know the difference.
But I went to Hampton High School, which has a plethora of different cultures in Hampton High School. But I chose, when I was going to college, I said, no. I need to learn how they think. This is what I need to learn right now, because I hadn't had access to it. I didn't have access to a lot of this. I need to know how do you think? How do you move? How do you think? How do you network? I need to learn that, because where I am, it's like everything is like the melting pot, like New York. And that's a false view. It should be like that in a perfect world, but it's not like that, because honestly, they move different. They move different. They think different. They act different. They network different. It's different. And I wanted to learn that. I'm never going to lose what I was taught, but I need to learn that too, so I know how to move in those rooms. So I don't think that I lost
in the depth aspect that I feel like because Candice sparked something in my head in the saying of still let him be a boy. And when I was talking to Kela last night about just children, I always say that, we put things on children, but then there are heaviness that we can put on a child that they're not prepared for. And I felt like he was being put in two different places of two different social dynamics. And a lot of what he was doing is because, number one, that's his father. Number two, of what he was taught. But number three, that gray area of maybe I shouldn't do this. I should not put the phone up, because all those actions were the things that his dad basically did not want him to do. He just wanted him to just not do anything, follow the rules, just like he was doing. So I was just having—
His father is military, and that's why I understood it. His father is military. So for me, there was no issue of differences of social dynamics. Military children do this.
I am a military child, and you're still
that.
not getting what I'm saying.
But there's going to be social dynamics regardless. You have a social dynamic when children go to school. You have a different dynamic if they go to an after-school program. You have a different dynamic if they play sports.
You're still not getting what I'm saying. I'm saying I have where I'm saying is I am the child that they put in a different area to get better education, to be multiculturally different, all that California, blah, blah, blah. But in this moment, I realized, like, dang, you pull me from my cultural background. Not saying that my parents weren't talking about it and doing it. It's just like, it seems like such a catch-22 when it comes to our community. It's like, field nigga and then a house nigga. And I don't mean to say it like that. It's like they always separate and divide. We can't just be in a position of power. So I'm just looking at this. I'm hoping I'm explaining this right.
I think he's talking about in schools, you know what I mean? Where you have to sacrifice one. Either you don't have to. There are areas and communities that are, getting this right, where it is a very good Black school and you get both. And so I think he's mainly talking about within the school. I went to a predominantly white school in high school. It is something to be said to go to a school, but have zero, experience with your culture and how that shapes you. Like, I'm dealing with those things in my mind about what type of Black person I was in high school. Not really, excited to think about it. You know what I mean? The things that I had to hear and be okay with and not even realize in a lot of aspects. But my school was good. You know what I mean? However, there were daily microaggressions that I had to deal with, that to where even people now, I have been called like, yeah, you were the Black girl. You were the token. Like, token was used. And so it's just like, I don't remember it that way. However, I know I was the only Black girl in a lot of my friend groups. Mm-hmm. So that is also something.
So that's probably the better way to say it, because I just was like in the moment, just thinking to myself as I was thinking about the movie and how we was talking about everything. I was like, well, the father is doing all of this for the better future. But then in the intern, the very thing that he had to it's like almost not counteract, but kind of go back and say, well, I need you to know this and I need you to know that. You need to know this, know that. And just like you said, we can always say that there's racism everywhere, and then we can still always say there's this, this, and this. But I feel like that sometimes is dangerous too, because it's not always the case. There are detailed things that go missing all the time in our community. You know, just like that guy named Richard said about the, I don't all the way agree with the minority being the well-educated, intelligent. I just feel like we're not allowed to have healthy spaces of life.
Like the resources. It's like I said, we are coming from nothing in this country, not
Right.
even being considered in this country. How well do you think those things, how much time and effort do you think they're going to put into those communities? Not a lot. If you don't give me your tax dollars, then you get what we get. You get the leftovers.
Right.
But you give me your tax dollars, you give me your your home taxes, then let me make this look all nice and stuff. That's just how it goes.
I have a question. This is piggybacking off of something that Candice said, and then also that Greg said, and I made a statement and then I got to recant it because now I got to think about it. All right, so we were talking about what you're taught in home about the cops versus what about laws. I'm not talking about the cops. Law. What you're taught in school about the law, and then when you come home, your parents tell you, all right, yeah, that sounds good, but this is what it is. And initially I said, well, I wouldn't want the school to teach my child about those laws, about the difference in the laws. And that still sort of rings true. However, what do you feel about people who are not African American not knowing that the laws are not the same for us?
They need to know.
How long they've been here?
I think that causes another conversation. Yeah. And I think that also brings about a mental form of tolerance from their viewpoints in seeing us, because that allows them to possibly be an ally when you get into a situation where you see blatant, racism, or you're able to see, okay, there's no reason for that cop to shoot him. It's not one of those, well, you shouldn't have been there and he shouldn't have been doing anything. Well, he shouldn't have been looking like he was guilty of something. One of those situations. So whereas you have some white people who will respond to an officer involved shooting with an unarmed Black person who wasn't doing anything, who will respond and say, well, he shouldn't have been doing anything, or he shouldn't have been there, or he shouldn't have had his hood up over his head and look like he was guilty. I think when they have they're allowed to learn the differences, and they're allowed to see some differences in how laws are portrayed versus how we are supposed to act according to those. I think it allows them to have a different form of tolerance towards us, and allows us to feel, allows them to have more empathy towards us.
So where should they learn it? Because I heard Kela's statement of, well, you live here, so but I don't necessarily agree with that, because we got a whole lot of us. I'm assuming that Richard.
My statement.
Hold on. I'm assuming that Richard is one of us, and his view is extremely skewed because someone hasn't taught him what Kela taught him today. Kela came at him at a teaching level and said, "Hey, don't speak on something you don't know. This is why this is happening." Someone may not have ever come at this particular person like that to give it to him in that manner. So there is a margin of ignorance that has to be made up, that today Kela assisted in his ignorance on this particular subject. But go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead and finish.
Okay,
it.
But what I'm saying, I am not saying that all white people don't know what's going on.
Correct.
What I will say is that it isn't until it hasn't been recently until very detrimental situations happen that cause the conversation to initiate with people of other races. That's what I will say. I've had friends, I still friends with them to this day. I've had friends growing up, I still have friends that are white, and we had conversations throughout our lives about what African Americans go through. I remember one time I was with one of my rowdy ass white girlfriends, and we got pulled over, and she tried to play her. Back in the day, it wasn't a Karen card back then, it was a Becky card. We called them Becky back then. And she tried to play her Becky card with the cop. And I'm sitting in the passenger. I was like, yo, don't do that shit with me in the car. And she was like, what do you, I was like, don't, calm down, give them what the fuck they want, and let's go. And then she was just like, all right. And so she did it. And then later she was like, I said, honey, you can't do, I spoke to her frankly, you can't do that with Black people in the car. What is wrong with you? But it took a situation to spark a conversation to say, girl, they do this, that to us. They've done this, that. And she didn't know. She truly did not know. And so that's what I'm saying. Where should this be? Where should that happen?
So when you were saying that about when non-Black people, like, how do they know? I asked, how long have they been here? Because if they just got here 6 months ago, you know what I mean? I don't know how they would know. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you're saying non-Black people don't know what's going on in the Black communities, is that what you mean?
Well, not all of them. I'm just saying there's certain things,
Right.
There's certain things they just won't know unless they are deep in our community. They won't.
I think that there are people. I think that there are people who are, you know, like we don't know everything. We don't know what's going on in everybody's culture and everybody's neighborhoods and everybody's city and states until it is put out, you know, for the news to report, for us to find out, you know, through social media and stuff like that. So I don't fault anybody for not knowing exactly what is going on, because even we don't know exactly what is going on everywhere all the time.
Right.
But there are people who are still conditioned, like, by the government. This is the most important part of it. Consciousness, I think, is truly should be the goal, because then you can truly have control of your life, what you think, what you do, like going into things fully aware of the consequences and not just stumbling upon some consequences. And so I say that to say, you can't fault them for still like believing in the American dream, believing in the Pledge of Allegiance, because they have not interacted with, nor have had a friend who have had experience with bad things happening. And so they still believe the hype. And I can't fault them for that, because I was there at one point.
Right.
I was young, but still, you know what I mean? There was a point in time when I drank all of the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And I think that, hold on, I wrote this down because like I was writing it down as you were about to ask the question. Mm-hmm. And I think that you don't get unplugged until you have a bad experience. You know what I mean? This father thought that he was going to be able to take it, like to have his son in a good school. Nothing was going to happen to him. You know what I mean? He was sending him off with a great start, you know, for his future. And then he ran into an experience. And so everybody who knows about that instance will now pass that story down. And this is just how, look, when you interact with the police, you know what I'm saying? Let's put this together. Let's figure out how we can adjust so this doesn't happen to the next person. Nobody knows what laws, you know, I don't know all the laws of California. I don't know all the highway laws or anything like that, but people have told me things, you know, I know the basics of how to get around.
Right.
It's not until you experience, you run into people, you hear a story, you start digging deeper into specific things that you start to really get it. And so I, you know, we all don't, I empathize with people, with humans, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying?
Right. So Sam actually responded and said, there is a mountain of privilege in white parents not educating their children. Other kids don't get a choice. We have to have those conversations with our kids too. Otherwise, we're arranging more ignorant adults.
That's true.
So what your husband said, read what your husband said, because that was great. The last comment.
He said what we do, like Sam is doing, if we want to understand something written, you need to know how to read first, and then know how to read, you need to learn.
And the funny thing is, we talk about education, and I love, my time being a teacher. It's like we're not given the real tools to really teach culturally sound. I don't, I know that you didn't, you say you feel like you should teach it because from a home, but being a teacher, I feel like, well, then why am I here? I taught from preschool all the way up to 5th grade. My job is to educate. So why am I here? If I'm not here to teach about not only the Black experience because I'm Black, but the other experiences culturally and alphabet numbers and everything else, why am I really doing this job? I think teaching is I think education in high school, you're supposed to, college, you're supposed to get the full experience. It is very sad and unfortunate that I have to go to someone, and I thank God for, y'all and Kela, but at the same time, it's unfortunate because I would have loved to have, one of my favorite teachers was Miss Bickaveris, who was like Swedish and German, but she was like serious about that whole history situation. But I would love to have the freedom of my teacher to have freedom to really be able to teach. I feel like, a lot of times, we sit around here and we have,
you got to execute that curriculum, and then but you can't really teach real stuff that
you can't really, you're not allowed to teach it. And the thing about it is, it's like, I remember learning about, and this is crazy, I learned about slavery through Roots. That's how my conversation happened as a young child. I was asking questions. My first question was, why is she crying so bad, mommy? Then my mom went and she started to talk to me, but it goes back because she was being ripped away from her home. I didn't understand what was going on, but that was the scene where she was being taken from her home. And in this moment, I'm just thinking to myself, they assassinate us, our cornrows, our style, all of this, but then they turn around and they mimic it and they make money off of it.
Oh yeah.
It's good. It is good enough for them, but it is murder for us. They take everything we are. And so even more so me thinking about, the character in the movie, the son going to another school, it's like that now looks to me like you're telling me that's not good enough. I'm not saying violence is good. I'm not saying the drugs and all the stuff that they allow in our communities. But what I'm saying is it starts to paint the picture and the narrative of how young Black children actually react to stuff. They start to say, well, he let my mom put me in this school, yeah, we're gonna say education, but when they go into school, they're going to pay attention to what they see. They're going to be looking at what's there. I remember when I went to Pine Middle School in California, because my parents was like, I want to do best. I was surrounded by nothing but white people. And I started to adopt, dude, because I was constantly around them in their culture. And even though I could understand that wasn't me, I was constantly being fed it. So, for me today, it's a great aha of, yes, we need to make sure we encourage education and get our children into safe places. But I'm definitely going to have to figure out this balance thing, because it is sad to me, because I don't think it's just the parents' responsibility to teach Black or Chinese or Swedish. It's not our responsibility. We are parents. I mean, y'all are parents. Y'all take care of your children. You're going to do what you're supposed to do. But when you go to the educational system, it should be open to learn about the world and what's in it. And obviously they keep hiding or taking out and removing. So then we have all of this, we just a bunch of confused people. Like it's irritating. Like I'm so irritated because I'm sitting there like, it's irritating to know that confusion is become the best teacher in school.
See, now that's what I was trying to get to, and I apologize for cutting you off. So you had said earlier, as a teacher, you're like, well, why am I here? Why am I there? And the parents are having to teach something different at home. It's because at the end of the day, to understand that reasoning is because you have to understand that it's all programming. It's programming. When you are a child in school, you are not learning, especially those of color, those of different ethnicities other than white. You are not learning the truth about your culture. You are not learning anything but what this country and this government wants to be your curriculum to learn. You are programmed. When the bell rings, you get up, you go to the next thing. You are controlled, you are moved like cattle. That is why teachers' hands are held behind their backs. Some teachers do care, but a lot of them.
Not some, a lot of teachers care.
Yes, and I'm not saying that all don't, but I'm not saying all do either. What I'm saying,
I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of teachers care, and that's a misread right there.
You are teaching his story, the story of the people who created the plan and the plot.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
So, got a question. We about to hit up on 3:00. So we have.
So sorry.
It's all right. It's good. Okay. So the final roundabout about the movie. Final roundabout. We don't have to repeat everything that we've already said. Right. So I think instead of us doing a recap of what you felt for the movie, I'm going to ask this simple question. If you were the father in the movie, what would you have done? And where would the movie have ended? Because I know several times we watch movies and you'd be like, she could have killed her right there at the bar and this movie would have been over. You know what I'm saying? If it was you know what I'm saying? Something like that. So as a father, what would you have done? Basically, when would the movie have ended for you?
Okay, as the only father on the panel, let me please start this off.
Go ahead, Father.
I'm gonna tell you just like this, simple and plain. There is no way to describe what I would have done, when I would have done it, how I would have done it. Because at the end of the day, I would black out. Any person in their humanly right mind would black out seeing the being you created.
Come on.
Being wiped off of this earth in your face. There is no way to describe it. All I can say seriously as a father is I probably wouldn't have made it past that traffic stop. My life would have had to expire in that moment as well.
Right.
Okay.
Because there's nothing that I will not do to keep life breathing through the lungs of my children, my wife, myself. There's nothing, period. I don't give a damn. You ever seen an ant pick up something bigger than him? There is nothing I wouldn't do. So, not to discredit anything anyone says, I do not believe anyone knows the answer to that question.
Okay. Candice?
He says, as your lawyer.
That's
Albert, hold on. Look at Albert, Candice. Look at Albert.
As your lawyer, I would advise you not to say what any of you would do.
Albert, I listened well.
Well, look, earlier Albert said take all the fire from Candice. Like, don't let her in there any fire. Go ahead.
Look, I'm gonna get 2 wooden sticks and start rubbing. First, I got one of my friends she's been watching the show off and on all day, and she was like, "I really appreciate this conversation from you guys so much. I've taken y'all grocery shopping with me because I didn't want to miss anything."
Well, I appreciate
you.
Thank you for listening.
Yes. I don't. So just like Greg, I don't know exactly how I would have responded. At what point in the movie it would have ended for me, or at what point the movie would have ended, basically, because I can totally understand, you're trying to wait for the verdict, seeing if justice will be served, but in knowing the history of this country and how things have played out, you can almost bet your whole paycheck that it's not going to go in your favor. So at any point in time, you're liable to black out and then just react. So I can honestly see me dying somewhere behind the back of that police car or on the side of it. And if, let's say, I do make it past that and we get to actually go to court and we find out that things didn't go in our favor, I can definitely see me being the father. Right. But I can also say that I highly doubt you're going to hear a click at the end.
Right. I feel
you gonna hear something leaving that chamber.
Like bang, bang, gang, gang.
Gotcha. So bang, bang, the only bang, click bang. You gonna hear is me drawing back. Click, clack. That and somebody's going to expire. And if the person who did kill my child is in my presence, that's gonna be his last day breathing.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I'm going to make sure that your family's gonna feel the same hurt that my family does. There's no, I can't say there's no reason, but in my heart of hearts, there's no reason for you to be allowed to still breathe. My child can't breathe no more. You've ended the life of my child, and for what? Because you thought I was speeding?
Yeah, for nonsense.
Because I handed you an expired insurance card and you didn't give me the opportunity to show you one that was valid. You whatever the situation may be,
right?
You took that from me. You took that from my family,
right?
You took the opportunity for my child to grow up. You took the opportunity for my child to get married, to have children, and for you to think that that's okay. It's just not going to end your way. I promise it's not. I don't know exactly how I'll get to that point, but I can tell you, nigga, you're not going to breathe no more.
Agreed.
I'm going to make sure you bleed out. And if I'm able to do it by myself, baby, you going to bleed slow. I will skin you with a butter knife.
Don't catch it. Hey, man, don't go into the details.
Right? Hey.
None of this on record. Because if we hear something about the butter knife slayer, we gonna know it's you in Texas. Don't do that. Cabana, what would you do, babe?
Don't come for me, mine.
I'll say two things. The first thing is I can just think about my father. I got assaulted. I've been assaulted 5 times in the area of my dad's house, which is in a white neighborhood and great, quote, people. And I remember the third time it happened. I didn't know about the first, the second. I didn't know about the fourth or the fifth. And I can't say because I found out on the third, no, I didn't know about the first, second, or the fourth or the fifth, but on the third one, I found something. I came home, I was bruised, and all they wanted was my jacket. And I walked in the house and I told them what happened. And my dad went into the back, he didn't say anything. And he picked up, then it's a switchblade pocket knife. I didn't know what it was. But then he went in the kitchen and he got like this thing of salt. And then he went and he got this little bit of liquid in the gun, and he said, "Get in the car." And I was like, "Well, what we gonna do?" Because I was like, "We got salt. What is salt for? What is this for?"
But pour it on you.
Yeah, and I didn't know, like, then he would cut them open and salt them up, and pour the salt inside the wound and all this kind of stuff. Like, he was real serious. It wasn't till the birth of. Like, I didn't know he would like my dad, anybody know my dad? My dad is a G. Like, he is no joke. But then I knew something totally different. But it wasn't until my niece, and Dizzy knows how I feel about my niece. My niece is my life. I feel like as much as I try to be a good person, the scariest thing about me is I am a Scorpio. I believe that there is a kind of darkness that would come out of me that no one would be able to save me. I don't think it's about even trying to kill. It's about a vengeance, and that's kind of like I related to the father, but I know that I would probably go so much further and so much darker, because I think, you know, when you think about taking something that you birthed violently like they did, you know, and you seeing it and you witnessing and you hearing the last, like, I was about to cry, man. When he said, is he, you know, breathing? That got to me, you know what I mean? So I feel like, to me, I hope that I never have to feel that kind of pain and loss that so many parents and family members have, you know, had to experience. And my prayers go out to you now, if you know anyone, because it has to be gut wrenching. So for me, I just think that there's no other way. You have to be really, really in a very special place not to go dark.
Yeah.
I don't think, and even when I say dark, it's not a bad thing. I think it's just anger. It's just an anger it's beyond fire and it's beyond acid. It's just something that I think it has to be satisfied. And so when I looked at the movie, I felt like he had to do what he had to do in order to find some kind of peace. And I think that's pretty much what comes to mind.
Okay. Kela?
Ooh-wee. So I would be like Greg, you know what I mean? I think it would just be an emotional thing. Where did it bring me back to? I can't remember what I got upset over, something like the smallest thing. And so I know that if I saw my child being shot in front of me, it would just be more and more and more emotion. Not sure if it would be able to be controlled. I'm super petty, so I get the simplest shit.
Come on, Patty.
Like I could get really heated over some dumb shit. And so this wouldn't be any dumb shit. This would be the realest thing.
Right.
I thought he did a great job with the movie. I do respect the fact that he was just trying to make a point. That takes a lot of restraint and a certain type of person. He waited 1.5 years to try to get justice. You know, we're all people, and so we may be in such shock that nothing happens and we end up having to wait it out like everybody else. You know what I mean? We never get that satisfaction of feeling like we get justice. There are a lot of families right now who are feeling like they don't get justice. And so, yeah, I thought the movie was done well. I wouldn't act as well.
Right.
Gotcha. I would probably say the traffic stop would be where my life would end, probably the traffic stop. If for some reason or another, which I think, and I have to go back and look at the movie to see, if I had been restrained, which I think the dad was or was about to be or something, I think he went and ended up being able to hold his child or whatever. If I had been restrained or whatever the case may be, when he sat down at that silver table in the interrogation room, the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have had a conversation. There's nothing I want to say.
Yeah.
That was deep.
There's nothing I want to say. I don't care why. I don't give a fuck about your training. I don't give a fuck about what you feel about. I would not care. I would just see you and your partner on site, both of y'all, and then sit there and wait for them to either shoot me or put me in jail. Like, I'm not gonna run. We ain't going in with bulletproof vest. We're not doing none of that. There's no need. There's no need, because I already know how it's gonna end, just like the movie ended. I think that this movie was very well done, and just
that's so crazy, man.
That moment, like, I knew.
I didn't want it though.
I knew he was gonna die. Like, you knew, but I had like a whole like tear meltdown when they shot him. I knew it was gonna happen.
I didn't want it though, man.
I didn't want it, but I knew.
God, it just
But
right.
Do you see, like, I was surprised, and do you see that they didn't have to? They didn't have to kill him. They could have let him go out.
But let me tell you whose voice. You know whose voice, when it happened, in the back of my head, I heard Kela Mahogany.
Say it.
I told you they don't give a fuck. That's exactly what I heard. I told you they don't give a fuck.
They don't.
And I was just like, wow. Because if he had lived, the narrative would have changed.
Yeah.
There would have been a change of a narrative of that situation if he was able to come out, able to show some sort of alliance with the cops, able to talk about what happened. And I know the movie got out and all of that stuff, but him being able to do it, I think that would have initiated a change in the narrative. So I know we have kept all y'all for 2 hours today. This was a good show. We love y'all. We thank you so much. Please make sure to tune into What You Got to Say every single Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live. And if you don't have time to catch us live or don't want to take us to the grocery store, you can catch us on all of your favorite podcast outlets. We are on 16 platforms. So we will see you next week, 1 p.m. What You Got to Say. You are so stupid.